Welcome to the Trailblazer FM podcast. This is your host Lee, and on today's show, we have the one, the only. It's Helen Knight from Creative Business Brain. Helen, how are you today?
Oh, thank you. I'm amazing, thank you. And that was a lovely introduction.
That's all right. I'm excited to have you on the show. Absolutely love your branding. Folks, if you're listening to the show, check out the link in the show notes and come and have a look at the YouTube video because Helen's background looks incredible. Do you want to move? Look at that logo. That's incredible. Everything's
Thank
just
you.
on brand. I'm loving it. So, for
Oh,
the
I've got
folks who don't know who you are, Helen, are you all right to give us a quick bio and maybe something that people don't
yeah,
necessarily know about you?
absolutely. So obviously Helen Knight. I run Creative Business Brain Limited. Something that people don't know about me. I'm a third dan black belt,
Right.
kickboxing. Yeah.
That's why clients
Um,
pay you more money.
Actually, I'm a bit out of practice recently
Oh, okay.
after but no, it's nothing to do with that. But yeah, I do teach designers and agencies how to create a stream of high-paying clients
Awesome.
using social media. So that's the main thing I do. But yeah, I love keeping fit and looking after myself because at the end of the day, if you haven't got your health, you've got nothing. So yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm very much into like physical and looking after your mental health as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm one of those people who doesn't have time to go and keep fit at the gym. So I managed to fit in walking lots. So instead, I take my son. I've got a toddler, and we go out and do an awful lot of walking every single day. And I've managed to lose. I've lost count now. I think it's 40 or 50 pounds over the last year, which is pretty
Wow.
incredible.
Oh, that's great. Well done. No, it's important to keep fit and do stuff in the day as well. Like I'm always encouraging my clients to have a good routine and, go and have a walk at lunchtime and clear your head and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, speaking of clients, we all know that we need better paying clients or a higher paying clients. But I guess my first question is why? Because can't I just pile them high and sell them cheap?
Not really. Well, you can do if you want to have a heart attack. If you want to burn out and yeah, literally work every hour there is, which most people will tell me, when things aren't going so well, that's what happens
Mhm.
when they're not charging anywhere near what they should be charging. And that also happened to me when I was in my 20s. I was growing my business as a designer and trying to grow an agency and it was the same story. I was trying to do everything for everyone, and just, yeah, working myself into the ground and just neglecting myself
Mhm.
massively. And that's why I've kind of evolved over the years and decided, health always comes first.
Yeah.
But you need to really value yourself and value your time more than anything else because, like, you can never get time back at the end of the day. You can always make more money. I know a lot of people that obviously are in a situation where they're struggling at the minute might not think like that.
Mhm.
They might be thinking, "Oh, what do you mean?" But if you're really just selling stuff really cheap, like just bending over backwards for people and doing everything till like the early hours of the morning or all night sometimes, which is what I used to do, which was crazy. You're so undervaluing yourself. So I think once you have that realization that I can't keep carrying on like that, I can't build the life I really want doing that,
Mm.
then you start to go down a very different path and you start to value your time, you start to value your skills and your ability and what you can really do for the world and other people. And once you start realizing what impact that has on other companies and other people and start to really understand that, that's when you start to go, okay, yeah, this is I can actually gain control and I can actually have the business I want. I can have the lifestyle I want. I can have the future I want.
Mm.
It's all there. You just got to open your eyes a little bit more, a bit wider, maybe, and just realize that people are achieving those things. People are doing those things. There's no reason why you can't do that. So
Yeah.
I think some people just, yeah, we're all kind of conditioned, aren't we, to think in a certain way, to
Mm.
like, to put, I guess people are put in a box and like, "Oh, no, you can't do that." But you can do anything you want. So That's what I believe.
No, absolutely. I mean, looking back then at when you were younger and kind of hitting burnout, was there any one point that became a
Mm.
catalyst for change for you, or was there a series of events that you can kind of pinpoint that
Oh,
helped that
goodness.
mind shift? Ooh, pause. That helped that mind shift change for the. I just swore that mind shift. That mind shift change.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, there's probably several moments. Just yeah, I remember being, just trying to think, like, the key ones, really. I was loads of moments where things were really rocky and I was really struggling, financially and obviously as well with my mental health as well, because when you're especially if you're trying to build a business on your own and you spend a lot of time on your own, it's not healthy sometimes, especially if you're not in a good place. I think I just started to realise that I needed to get out of my comfort zone. I needed to stop kind of having a pity party.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
I
all
think
good at
sometimes
those.
yeah, I think sometimes at certain stages of your life, you realise and you look back and you go, "Oh my goodness, I was just feeling sorry for myself. I should have,
Mm,
got help sooner. I should have reached out and talked to more people that I could relate to more about what was going on." I just felt like I was the only one in the world going through it at the time.
yeah.
And, yeah, and it was, not an easy place, but, luckily I met my partner, through a creative industry website. He helped me a lot actually. Um, and I was talking to him a lot. We were friends for a long time before we were together. We've been together over 17 years now, which is
Wow.
amazing.
Well done.
Thank you. And yeah, it was just I think it's just finding people that are going through that as well,
Yeah.
and you can start to think, actually, it's not just me. Everyone else feels like this. It's not just me, and
Mm,
because I think if you start to think, oh, it's just me, there must be something wrong with me. I must be rubbish. All those negative thoughts go through your head. That there's only one way you're going when you think like that, and that's down. So
mm,
if you can realize you're doing that and you start realizing it's only the direction you're looking in that's the problem.
yeah.
If you start actually thinking, other people are doing this, so why can't I? Then and start to take some steps forwards into looking at what are your strengths, what are you really good at. um, there's always positive points there, and there's always things that people need. And it's just the fact that most people take that for granted. So, yeah, I think it is just working out what you really enjoy doing the most, what you're really good at, what are your genius zones, what are the things that um, get you excited as well to help people. Because I
Mm,
think that's it. Sometimes a lot of creative people are they're kind of like treated like order takers rather than these people are absolutely creative geniuses. Like any creative person, I think everybody that's in that world is a genius because they can create things out of nothing.
yeah.
They can solve any problem in a creative way, which is just absolutely mind-blowing when you think of it like
Yeah.
that. So, you have got the power to do amazing things. And once you start realizing that and you start talking to yourself in the right way, I think that was one of the things that I noticed early on when I really struggled a long time ago. Um, it was like, what was I telling myself? I was telling myself all the wrong things. I was in such a negative place. And I think just because I'd been around a lot of negative people, it just got
Mm,
me in that situation. As soon as I realized and I managed to start, you start getting a whole new peer group, people that are actually supportive and excited for you.
yeah.
People that are, like, cheering you on rather than putting you down. And you start seeing the whole world in a different way, totally different way.
I think it helps as well. You mentioned your partner there. You are starting to see yourself through the lens of your partner's vision of you. Your partner could instantly recognize what your strengths are, what
Mm,
was valuable in you, and by
yeah.
him pointing that out, that starts to solidify that in you, doesn't it? So as you surround yourself with more and more people like that who
Mm,
are willing to share with you what they see in you and to give you that positive feedback. It's so much
Yeah.
better. I used to hang out like similar sort of time with other people who were in difficult situations, who were quite negative, who would say, "Oh, that will never work," and
Mm.
we're all feeling sorry for themselves too. So I was just stuck in this rut of kind of this big, do you remember the Yorkshireman skit? I'm going to put a link in the show notes. There's a Yorkshireman skit. Everyone has to go and watch it on YouTube. It's hilarious, and it's Monty Python, and they're all sat talking about how when they were kids they had it really hard, and every next guy keeps trying to one up them.
Oh, I
It's
know what you
just
mean.
yeah, it's such a funny
Yeah,
clip. We
yeah.
were kind of in that zone until I started to listen to people who were saying those positive
Mm,
messages like, Lee, you are really good at web design, you are really good at communicating, and those sorts of things. And that started to have me thinking, oh yeah, I am actually good at that, but because
yeah.
I'm scared about paying the mortgage and scared to put myself
Mm,
out there at a higher price because people might not pay me, I'm just going to carry on in this kind of forever loop
yeah.
of not charging enough. For me, maths was the catalyst where I eventually realized that there wasn't actually enough hours in a year for me to
Oh, well
possibly
done.
work to be able to pay the bills if I carried on selling what I was selling at
Yeah.
100%. And I couldn't even sell 100% of what I was selling. So I was like, okay, I need to change.
Oh, well done. Yeah. Yeah, 'cause, there are certain things that creative people aren't so good at. It's usually maths and spelling. So,
Yeah.
yeah, which, now that I work with a lot of creative people, it's very reassuring that
I
we've
did
all got
wonder
the
why
same.
you're called Creative Brian at the back there. But anyway, carry on. You're going to check now, are
Yeah.
you? Carry on.
Oh dear. So yeah, it's but yeah, once you realize like there's nothing wrong with with not being so good at some things, and it just means you're a genius in other areas. And yeah, it's exciting when you realize that, thinking differently is a really good thing. It's a really positive thing, and it means that you're going to be so successful if you just have the right mindset, if you just really believe in yourself, and you get the right support, and yeah, you figure out basically what you want to achieve, and the steps to get there. The most effective way to get there is definitely important. So yeah, it's an exciting journey. It really is, and it definitely took me a long time to get there. But hopefully, I'm saving people a lot of stress and worry and sleepless nights.
Well, I
um,
mean, on that, you are working with an awful lot of agencies now, helping them get out
mm.
of that. You've been through that journey. What are some common myths that you hear, or some common lies that agency owners believe that holds them back?
A lot of so their own kind of limiting beliefs. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So maybe one of them is that I'm just not good enough, or maybe another might be
Yes.
I've got to do
Oh
more to
goodness.
charge more, or
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd say that's the first thing I talk to my clients about when they say, "Yeah, come on, let's go for this, let's do
Mm,
it." And we have our first Zoom session. That's the first thing we talk about is mindset and what they really believe about themselves, about
mm,
their ability, and also about money, because they're the two things that hold people back the most. I would say, if you believe that money is hard to get, if you believe that you're like there's some reason why you can't achieve certain level of success, like you're not good enough, like you said, or you kind of just don't feel like if you're in a certain situation, you don't feel like you could be confident enough to do something, or there's all kinds of things that come up. And I try and share with people the things that helped me along the way, because I used to have really bad anxiety when I was younger. I used to be so shy and timid, and I really forced myself out of that when I was like networking with people, and I used to study all sorts of things to help with my mindset. So I looked in like hypnotherapy, I looked into EFT. I don't know if you've heard of that, it's the emotional freedom technique. There's all sorts of things that I looked into and had a go at myself that helped me massively along that journey. And it's just yeah, just teaching people like little things they can have in their back pocket in case they don't feel quite confident one day, or they don't quite like how to stay motivated, all that kind of stuff. Anything that really is holding them back, like procrastination. Most people procrastinate because they're scared of something. So
mm.
most people stop themselves doing the things they need to do to get to where they want to go, even though they really want to get there, they stop themselves getting there because they're scared of what will happen if they get there. So
Yeah.
it's it's like yeah, the next problem that's going to come along. But if you kind of if you think about that and you journal about it and you write down the things that are scary, why are they scary, what's the worst case scenario, and if you can be okay with that worst case scenario, and you'd be like, okay, if that happened, what would you do? And you can work out, okay, actually, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I could do this. You're not scared of it anymore. So
Yeah.
it's about just working out in your mind, working out yourself why these silly things hold you back, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of lies that hold us back, and it is a lot of it
Mm,
is just that self belief portion, isn't there?
yeah.
Because if you look at any of them, I need to do more in order to charge more is something that I used to think, but that goes right back to the limiting of the self belief and the belief that what I have is not valuable enough to charge more for. Therefore, I must
Mm,
throw more in, more freebies, more value in order to be able to say yes, this is 10 grand instead of 1 grand, and
mm,
that's certainly something that I would do. And again, born out of uh, that realization that you know I what I have to offer is extremely valuable. I'm the one who needs to see that because the client probably already needs to see that. But that leads to my next question: how do we find those clients that see that? Because we've
yeah.
probably started off in agency life attracting businesses based on price. Therefore, we're currently talking to the wrong audience. How do we find those people who recognize our value, like your partner, like my friends,
Mm.
and are willing to therefore pay?
Two ways I can answer this. So
Let's have
yeah,
both.
it's important to obviously like the if you're not perceived in the right way,
Mm,
then people aren't going to see the value you bring because most people just are very generic in the way that they come across online, into to the outside world because you've been conditioned a certain way to talk about certain things to what's in your world basically, and that's what you
mhm,
want to talk about. But you have to remember the people that are your ideal audience, these people aren't in your world. So the way that you talk about something and what you talk about isn't what they want to hear. So you've got to understand who you're talking to, understand, everything about their world, what's really going on in their world, and be able to relate to those people so that when they come across you, they really resonate with you and they go, oh my God, yeah, I get it. Like that is totally what's happening right now. That's why I need that solution that you're talking about. It's not about just talking about branding or talking about how to fix your website. It's about really understanding the people you're talking to, knowing what's going on in the world, caring a lot more about them and what that's really going to do to them in their lives so that, they can actually resonate with it. They can actually relate to it rather than just reading about colors and fonts and all that kind of stuff. Yes, if you're wanting to increase value and attract the people that do value you, how you communicate what you do is so important. So most people just say, "Oh, I'm a designer," or I'm a design consultant," or I don't know, web designer," or something like that, and they just say, "Oh, we build websites, we do branding so that you stand out," all that kind of stuff. But it's very generic talk. Okay, that's what everybody says. So what you need to do is think about the journey that your ideal audience is on, and you need to tailor your genius zone to their journey. So you need to think about the key things along their journey that they're going to struggle with because you know that audience really well. You've done your research and you've worked out, okay, it's really common in that kind of industry for them to go along this kind of scenario. They're going to struggle with this, then they're going to struggle with this, then they're going to struggle with this.
yeah,
And we can think of really creative ways to solve these problems with the things we're really good at. Okay. And tailoring, I call it an offer. So you tailor an offer that really
yeah.
matches what they're needing, what they're wanting, what they're needing. So that they can clearly see the value you bring. That's how you get people to really appreciate the value. If you communicate that value in the right way, they will understand it and they will be so excited once you explain that to them. Your perceived value massively goes up. Like the pricing thing goes out the window. You don't have to do quotes anymore. You just
Mm,
talk to people, explain it properly, and they're like, okay, let's do
yeah.
it. So yeah, it's quite exciting.
So for me to understand that, what we're saying here is, first of all, I'm going to look at my business and say, all right, for me, these are the things that I'm amazing at. I'm really good at. I really enjoy doing them, and that's my. I think you're
Nice.
saying is the genius zone. And then the
Nice.
next thing I need to do is look at my ideal client, and look at the industry that they're in, and kind of look at their overall trajectory. So, based on my customer avatar, what is the average journey they're going to take? Step one, they need to solve this problem in order to get to the next stage, of which they will
Mm,
probably meet with this problem, of which so on and so forth. So I've kind of now created this journey of the client, and I can now, looking at
mm,
my genius zone, apply that to each one of those steps. Therefore,
yeah,
I'm going to build my platform, i.e., what I talk about, based
yes.
on all of those. So, presumably, explaining to people what it is I do helps, but equally, talking about those particular problems or those particular hurdles or those particular aspirations, and perhaps even offering them things like a few minor quick wins in order to get people to recognize that you definitely know what you're talking about. I think what you're
Yeah.
saying here is niche. Are you saying niche into, say, a particular industry, or
Mm.
could you kind of unpack that a little further? Because I know a lot of people talk about niching, and I know a lot of people also roll their eyes at the idea of niching. So maybe
Absolutely.
explain a little bit more about how we hone in on that ideal group, industry, client type.
Yeah, so, I call it the focus phase because when I meet
Mm.
people, they look like my logo, so they look like all over the place.
Yep.
And yeah, it's all about focusing down on, yeah, who they want to work with the most, who like, in an ideal scenario, so if I waved a magic wand and they could have their ideal client coming through the
Mm.
door every day, who would that person be? Who would that business be? So I take people through a process of working out, yeah, what would be a really good choice for them
Mhm.
by understanding what makes a really good niche. How do they actually, make sure that that is a good fit? Obviously, you need to do some research. You need
Mhm.
to really work out what's going on in their world, understand them really well, understand what they talk about, and making sure that what you're offering is like the obvious answers to their problems. It's got to be that moment where they land on your page on LinkedIn or wherever you are, and they go, "Oh my god, I need to talk to you." That
Mhm.
should be an automatic response if you're positioning yourself in the right way, if you've niched down enough, if you're very specific, very clear about who you're communicating to and how you're helping them, basically. So yeah, does that
And
make sense?
it does, and the niche, then I'm guessing here, from what I'm hearing, the niche doesn't necessarily have to be an industry. What you've highlighted there is the ideal person, and the ideal person could be a coach, somebody who coaches people in multiple industries, or it could be an entrepreneur of a certain age that has a certain set of dreams and aspirations. I don't know, maybe you're focused on entrepreneurs over 50 or something along those lines. I guess there are niches beyond, aren't there? Just, I'm going to go after accountants, which is
Yeah.
not
I mean,
very exciting sounding.
I mean, the more specific it is, the easier it is. So
Yeah.
it just depends how quickly people need clients. Because I say, okay, obviously we kind of assess the situation and work out how quickly they need to get people through. And if it's, if they desperately need people, I would say go for something really, really specific and very narrow. If you're not like quite as desperate to get people through quickly, but you're still wanted to hone down into an area and you want sort of gradual momentum to build, then you can still obviously do it that way as well, where you're focusing on a person. But I would say if you're focusing on a type of company and something very specific in that company, then that's going to be a lot more obvious to your audience.
I think the more you drill down as well, it actually helps you communicate to other people, the sort of folks you're looking for. So if I'm just looking for accountants, I'm just going to get connected with accountants. Let's say I go networking. I'm looking for accountants. I build websites for accountants. That's super high level, super vague. If I'm looking specifically for tax accountants, or maybe I'm looking for accountants that deal with companies that are going bust or something, that's now made that a lot smaller. That's a smaller pool of people, and that's easier. A, for me to communicate what it is I'm looking to help those accountants with, but equally easier as well for the people who I network with to connect the dots and go, okay, Lee needs to talk to that particular accountant over there, or for that particular
Yeah.
company that helps businesses who are potentially folding, etc. And
Yeah,
I only give
absolutely.
that example because I nearly folded back in the very first back in the very first recession that I remember, at least back in 2007, 2008. I actually remember going to visit one of these accountants to talk
Oh,
about
no.
how we would close the company down. And thank God we didn't have to,
Oh,
but
gosh.
that was a miserable time.
When it was. Oh my goodness, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, gosh. Niching down is always very personal to people as well, because I say to people always, um, when we're talking about niching down and I'm helping guiding somebody through that process, they will usually have, it might sound really weird, but they'll usually have a conversation with their head and a conversation with their heart. So they'll think, "Okay, this is what I think I should be doing with my head. This is like sounds like the smartest choice. I'll probably make more money in this niche, like all that kind of reasoning stuff goes on. But then when they think about what they really love and what they really feel like they should be doing with their life, and they're kind of they just intuitively know that what they should be doing and listen to their heart, then that's a very different answer. And I always say to people, always go with your heart because you'll never be fulfilled in life if you always go with your head. So always go with your heart. And I think most people know what I'm talking about when I say that, even though I know it sounds a bit bizarre, but
No, I completely
yeah,
resonate. So, in
yes,
many times in business life, I have gone with the head decision because I know I can charge more for that one particular thing. However, I don't feel fulfilled by that thing that I can charge a lot of money for. Yeah, and as opposed to going for the things that I'm really excited about, really passionate about, the things that allow
yeah,
me to be creative, or the things that allow me to go into a business and actually see some real change and see the smiles on people's face and see their success. That fires me
yeah,
up. I get super excited about it. I'm getting chills right now. I want to go do that thing. I don't want to go and sell that product that's just an off the shelf rinse and repeat. They use it. I have nothing to do with it, which is actually one of the products we still have to this day. I want to be involved in the
yeah.
other side of things where we're actually talking with people and building on strategy, etc. So that's something we've been doing in our agency, kind of unleashing me in that area a bit more. Otherwise, I'd
Brilliant.
have the whole there's the whole head to heart battle. And head wise, oh, this makes money, let's keep doing this. And then the heart wise, but I love being over here and doing all this cool stuff. So yeah, I
Yeah,
totally resonate there. And
yeah,
for me as well, the podcast is something that I just love doing. I actually don't really make much money out of it, to be honest. And that should probably change. Maybe you can advise me there in the future. But I've
okay.
been doing this for like 8 years just because I love meeting people like yourself and learning
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
I do apply it
Yeah,
to my agency anyway, and I know loads of other people apply it too.
yeah,
But yeah, this has been for me a years long a passion project, but it is something that I enjoy doing. Now,
yeah.
one thing I'd be interested in then is what things can we do to communicate to our ideal audience? Because I know there's the whole trope of posting on social media, and we all know, yeah, post on social media and educate your audience. But what other ways do our potential clients see us beyond what we post on social media? How can we communicate our value and or resonate with our ideal audience beyond maybe a few social media posts?
Yeah, so I mean, everything that I teach is all through social media, mainly because when I was younger, I used to do everything, and I narrowed it down to the most effective things.
Mm,
So, because I didn't want to sort of exhaust myself because I
yeah.
was exhausting myself. So, yeah, so I narrowed it down to like the 20% that make 80% of the difference. So I narrowed it down to the 4 key things that make the biggest difference in your business. And obviously, one of those things is making sure that you have a strategy for social media and knowing how to bring in daily leads. So, if you don't know how to bring in daily leads with social media, that was the most essential thing you need in your business because when you think about it, social media, you don't have to pay for ads, it's free. If you know how to use it in the right way, you've got free leads coming in every day, which is like magic. But if you don't know how to do it, that can be like people's biggest downfall. And that is probably the most valuable thing I've ever learned how to do
Well, you could
in my
probably tell from my question then that I don't know how to do that. That's intriguing. So for me, I have just shown you that I perceive social media as just one of those things that we feel we have to do, but
Mm,
surely there's more. So for our business, the way we've grown and we continue to grow is through networking. We go to specific events in the events industry and we work with other suppliers. And obviously that works. There's a lot of work involved. And to be
oh
honest,
yeah,
we focus on that because like you said, it's what gives you the best results. And in our experience, it's definitely been that in our industry. It's worked for, say, the last 10 or 15 years.
Brilliant.
However, on the flip side, we also recognize that we do have products within our agency that would be ideal for selling online, as it were, or selling through social media. And we've
Mm.
tried paid ads many times, and frankly, we're terrible at it. We spend all this money on paid ads, and we never get a bite. Could you, without giving us like the keys to the cupboard, but could you just educate me a little bit on how I might be able to use social media effectively to generate one lead a year as opposed to every
Brilliant.
week? Because we don't generate any of our leads on social media as an agency. Everything comes through word of mouth on on networking,
Okay.
etc. So I would love to know something that we could be doing better.
Okay, so first of all, I mean, we did mention this earlier, but
Mm,
first of all, if you're not positioning yourself in the right way, that's number one.
yeah.
So obviously, niching down, positioning yourself as the answer to an ideal audience's problem,
Mhm.
they should land on your page and go, "Oh my God, I need to talk to you." Okay, just by reading that positioning statement, they should understand. It should be crystal clear. Can't say it. Sorry, crystal clear that they need you
Yeah.
and want to talk to you. Now, obviously, just that on its own, it isn't quite as effective as having the rest of it. So,
Mm,
obviously, having an offer, which we talked about earlier, that explains to your ideal client everything you want, everything you need in the business, and being able to communicate in the right way. Obviously, part of that, you're not going to just talk about that in your posts,
mm,
otherwise it would just be like sell, 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 and you don't want to come across like that.
no.
So, but you need to know what that is first, so that you kind of know where you're starting from. That's like your foundations basically. So once you've got that and you've got your foundations laid and you know kind of who you talk to, what you're offering, and you know how valuable it is to these people, then you can start to understand what you need to talk about. So you know these people really well, you've done loads of research, you start to understand where the problems are, what they're struggling with. And I've got a whole strategy that I teach my clients that gets people ready to buy. So you're taking them from Monday to Friday, you're taking them through a journey and you're helping them understand um, in a very clever way, because most people are on very different awareness levels.
Mhm,
So if it's a bit like consciousness,
mhm,
it's like what are you aware of, what are you not aware of in your life?
yeah.
And obviously, when I was a lot younger, I wasn't even aware that there were people out there that could really guide me and support me and help me. And if I'd known a lot sooner, I would have moved forwards a lot faster. So there are people out there that you can help with your skills and talents, but they're not aware that you can help
Mm,
them. Some people aren't even aware that they've got a problem. Some people don't even know they've got a problem, and they're just struggling along. They just think that's the way it's got to
mm,
be. They think they've got to struggle. It's like their limiting belief. I've got to struggle. I've got things are
mm.
hard, and that's kind of where they are. Now you have to lift them out of that and take them up that ladder so that they're in a really good place and they're excited, they're totally aware of what you're doing. They totally understand how you can solve the problem, and they really want to talk to you. So it's just kind of taking them through a journey.
So the way I'm thinking of this then is obviously you and me have been connected on LinkedIn, and over the course of maybe a
Mm.
month or two of seeing your posts come in, I've gotten an idea of what it is that you do, but I've also gotten an idea of the problems that your ideal client has through your posts. You've shared
Mm.
selfies, I think, with your mum. You've been on holiday at one point, but each one of your posts has included something maybe about your own past experience of struggling with an agency or struggling
Mm.
with attracting high-paying clients, or and so on and so forth. So I've gotten over time an understanding of what it is you're all about. Now, if I was your target audience, therefore, at some point you're going to be front and center of mind when it comes to either A, you hit me with an offer on social media, or B, I just one of your posts one day resonates with me enough for me to say, "Oh, I need to give her a call and just get some help at this point." So I think that's what you're saying. So
Yeah.
it's not like we're not talking
Mm.
here about a, "Hey, here is a end-to-end social media strategy where you're going to do this, and this, and then these are just going to come in, and you don't have to pay for paid ads, and everyone's just going to be willing to part with their credit card instantly. This is a case of, it sounds to me like this is almost a form of online social media networking. So we're building them up, we're educating them. Are we getting them to an offer page, or are we getting them to a call?
So yeah, we're definitely educating them. We're giving tons of value. I'd say that's the most important thing. You're giving a huge amount of value to these people and helping them as much as you can. And you're yeah, most people just want to feel understood at the end of the day. At the end of the day, most people that you're talking to, like it's got to be obvious that you are talking to them specifically, and they want to feel like, yeah, this person gets me, they understand me, they've definitely got the answer to my problem. Why haven't I spoken to them yet? Come on, let's go and have a look at their DM. Let's send them a message. Like it's got to be so obvious, and it's got to be a no brainer. You know, it's just got to be so obvious that you're the answer. And yeah, you do nurture people through your
Mm.
content, and yeah, make sure that you're always top of mind. Like I've had loads of people reach out to me and say, "Oh my goodness, I see you I see you on my feed all the time, and I love your videos." And like, oh, I feel like I know you already. And you know, there's that trust factor as well. So if you're consistent with your content, and people keep seeing your face, it's like an advert,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like, you know, you keep seeing this thing, and you know, this nice smiley lady looks really friendly. Yeah, I can definitely approach her. You've got to be, yeah, you've got to come across how you want people to feel about you as well. It's like, you know, I always would tell people off if they've got a really grumpy photo
Yeah.
on their profile. It's like, well, do you want to attract people like that, or do you want nice, friendly people? You know, so it's. I always say you get what you put out in the
Yeah.
world. So if you want to attract nice, friendly people, be nice and friendly and helpful and supportive and encouraging and give loads of
Yeah.
value. And, you know, people will want to be around you. People will want to reach out to you. People will want to grab a call with
Mm.
you. And, you know, yeah, it's not a hard process once you understand it. And a lot of people initially think it takes a lot of time. It
Mm.
doesn't. Once you have the structures, once you know the formula, once you kind of understand what works and what doesn't. I used to sacrifice a little bit of time when I first started working out what worked really well. I'd just sacrifice a little bit of time on a Sunday evening to think about my week and what I was going to post
Mhm.
about. But honestly, I've got so much stuff now that I actually reuse a lot of stuff. I reuse a lot of content. I do update a lot of it as well, but I kind of grab an old post and I'll look at it and go, okay, how can I improve this? But it's much easier to do that than starting from
Mm.
scratch again. But yeah, I do give my clients everything they need, like templates and things that they need, just to make it as easy as possible for them.
Well, what I've noticed about
Yeah.
your posts is you'll start off with kind of a story. Then you will offer some form of advice and strategy or etc. But you then don't offer any sell. You ask a question in the comments, and I've noticed you seem to get then people talking to you. So I think you're what you're
Yeah.
doing here is you're positioning yourself as, hey, here's a story that will resonate with you. This was my experience. This is what you can learn. Let's talk about that
Mm,
online. Let's have a conversation, i.e., you're building relationships,
yes.
and then for people are there for naturally then connecting with you. I think what we've made a mistake in our agency is we've approached it as a brand, so we've hidden behind the logo. We've often just published stuff about
Mm,
what the company's doing, or celebrating other companies, which is great. But we're not doing is having the people who are involved in sales. So, for example, Tim, my business partner, he could actually just start to show up in that manner, showing up as Tim and attracting other people in that way through social media. He does that networking anyway in person,
mm,
and it sounds like we're able to
yeah,
kind of transfer some of that strategically, what you're saying here, on social media as well. What I'd love to do, just to make sure that I've kind of encapsulated everything in this episode, is kind of just do a bit of a recap of what I've learned from our conversation before we let you
yeah,
go, and then
great.
you can kind of give me
Okay.
some marks out of 10. Well, I feel the pressure already. So we kind of
Well,
we started off right at the very beginning. We spoke about limiting beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs, and it would be great to be able to surround ourselves with people that are positive, people that can see our value, they can speak positivity into us. And it's also important as well to have that self conversation with ourselves as well and recognize our own value. From that, we then start to look at the people that we're serving and say, well, who is it that I want to serve? Who are the ideal people in real life, head to heart here? Who are the real people that I
Mm.
would love to work with? Also, what is my zone of genius? What is it that I want to do forever and absolutely love and enjoy, that fires me up and makes me passionate, etc.? Once you've got those two things,
Mm.
you can then start to look at, all right, well, this ideal person, what is it that they need to do? What's their journey to success, or each stage of the transformation in their life, etc.? And therefore, how does my zone of genius and how does my skill and talent help at each one of those points, so that you can then turn up on social media and start to educate people around all of those key things that they need to achieve at all those different journeys of their life. So you're sharing a story, you're
Yes.
sharing value, you're asking them questions, you're making sure you show up as you with a nice smiley face, and and not faking it at all, but you're being a real person.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
result of that is that in an ideal world, your ideal people who can pay you your ideal prices will pick up that telephone or send you an email and initiate a conversation. Would that be a
Mm.
fair summary of this entire episode?
Yeah, absolutely. Well
Nailed it.
done. You nailed
Nailed it.
it.
Oh my gosh. Helen, thank you so much for your time. Again, I've learned so much. I've got some stuff to cry about later, but hopefully we can have you again on the show sometime soon. Have a wonderful day. Cheerio.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.